Master anything with the fastest wireless speeds from Spectrum.
At Citi Field in New York, it's the home opener as the New York Mets play the Toronto Blue Jays. Season start is presented by PNC Bank. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Toyota. Deer Spring, Toyota's adrenaline-pumping lineup is ready for you. Toyota, let's go places. By Citi, for each Mets home run at Citi Field, Citi will donate $2,000 to No Kid Hungry. By Spectrum, a connection built for everywhere. That's life unlimited. That's Spectrum. And by your local Honda dealers, contact your local Honda dealer today. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you today as the Mets play their home opener against the Toronto Blue Jays. And it doesn't matter how many years you've been in the game. It doesn't matter how many games you've played on the road. The home opener is always special. Full house, lots of festivities, and the fans in a pregame frenzy.
You know, I got here about 12 o'clock, right? 3 hours before the game. And you could not get in this place. In our time now, 20 years this year, I've never seen a fan base more excited for a Mets team.
And they have something to be excited about. I think that what's interesting, when you notice the announcement of the players, the Met players on the sideline, there's a lot of players that have been here a while. The fans can relate to this group. There's some additions like every year, but there's a solid base of Met players that have been here for a while that the fans are familiar with, and I think that is such a positive.
And of course, a huge ovation as well for the newest Met, Juan Soto, his first game at home in orange and blue. He's hit well here in the past. Now he gets to play here as a home ball player.
Can he replicate what he did in spring training? We'll see in his first at-bat. But everyone's just so excited to see him in right field, and it feels like a golden era of Mets baseball for some reason.
I'm looking forward to watching him get up around 700 times this year.
There you go.
Meanwhile, Tyler McGill pitches his second career home opener. He won a home opener here 2 years ago against Miami.
You know, the thing about McGill is that he has just gotten better. He had a really solid spring training. And the Mets win on his starts. His last 7 starts. He's 3-0 with that great ERA, but the Mets have won every single game. So they hope to continue that today.
The Toronto Blue Jays come in having spent the first week of the season at home. They went 5-2, won their last 4, including a sweep of the Washington Nationals, so they're off to a flying start.
Well, they needed to get off to a better start. You know, they were in the postseason 2 seasons ago. Last year only won 74 games, so they went from the post to last place in the American League East. So they have a really good pitching staff, and they're going to have to get a lot out of their stars, Bichette and Guerrero.
It's a team with a lot to prove, no question about it, as the Mets take Season start is presented by PNC Bank. All the Met fans welcoming the new decade-and-a-half performer for the Mets. Stream every out-of-market game live or on demand. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Drive around the majors presented by Audi. Streaking and struggling. Michael Conforto off to a great start for the 8-0 Dodgers. Meanwhile, could you have guessed that the Rockies, who are 1-5 on the year, have the best starters ERA in baseball? Rookie Dylan Cruz off to a rough go for the Nationals, who just got swept by Toronto. And did you know that no team that's ever started 0-7 has ever made the postseason?
That's right.
Braves are 0-7 to start their year. Sold out house at Citi Field. There's the lineup for the Toronto Blue Jays, brought to you by Hyundai. The former Met Andres Jimenez off to a tremendous start in his first year in Toronto, and he's batting cleanup behind Anthony Santander, who had 44 home runs in Baltimore last year. Will Wagner, that's Billy's kid, he's also off to a good start, and the rookie Alan Roden in right field. The only Blue Jay who got a positive reception from the Met fans, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
It was more than positive.
It was like, you could come here. We wouldn't mind.
Exactly.
He's, of course, going to be a free agent. The last offer reported from the Blue Jays was for 14 years and $500 million, and he turned that down.
Oh,
I mean, Soto turned down $440 from the Nationals, and it worked out for him. And like Guerrero, like Soto, Guerrero's going to be a young free agent. He's 26. And you see what he did last year. The team struggled, but he had a marvelous 2024. He's got a gold glove on his mantelpiece,
right.
so he's a big-time player who's going to be a free agent. So is Bo Bichette, for that matter, for Toronto, and he's off to a fast start.
George Springer is off to a terrific start.
Did you notice that Mr. Met put on a few pounds of muscle?
Oh, he did.
Off season, yeah. He is definitely jacked.
Oh.
And ready for the season.
Mrs. Met loves it.
He's swole, as they say, Gary.
Is that what they say?
Yeah, I think that's what they say.
I wouldn't know about that. Speaking of which, Kevin Gausman put on about 30 pounds this offseason. They asked him, was it because you were in the weight room? He said, no, I'm living down in Louisiana. The food's really good.
That's right.
Kevin Gausman, a Colorado kid who went to school down in Cajun country. He's had himself quite a career, but, you know, he was DFA'd by the Braves. And then a year and a half later, he signed a 5-year, $110 million contract with the Jays.
He rejuvenated his career in San Francisco.
The reception for Juan Soto. Returning the gesture. This is the right place for him.
Yes.
He is a bright lights kind of player.
The right fielder, if you fans didn't know it, always plays catch with the bullpen catcher here at Citi Field.
The video board didn't get any smaller in the offseason. It's still the biggest one around.
And the City defense on the infield. Torrens behind the plate. Acuna gets the start. It's third start for Acuna at second base. Of course, Vientos at third. Lindor with the gold. Alonso rounds it out at first. And out in the outfield, Jose Siri gets his fourth start in center field. A bit of surprise. He's getting... That was very, that interrupted me. That's very loud. He can go get him.
Even without a horse, he can go get him.
I can't talk over that horse.
Was that a stallion?
Stallion. It's a Remington.
Tyler McGill, in the 7 starts since he returned from the minor leagues last year, 2.25 ERA.
It's his 69th start in a Mets uniform, and he does his best work here at Citi Field. 13-9 in his career, 3.80 lifetime ERA.
Had a start against the Blue Jays in September last year up at Rogers Center through 6 scoreless innings, allowed just 1 hit. Met fans were set with their MVP chance for Lindor when he was introduced today. Picking up where they left off last October. Bo Bichette leads off for the Blue Jays. He's off to a strong start. McGill's first pitch of the game is a fastball in for a strike, and we're underway.
And that's one thing that McGill has said. They got him to believe in his fastball and to pound the strike zone.
Bichette takes a fastball inside. Bo Bichette twice has led the American League in base hits. Last year he fell off drastically. He was hurt a good portion of the year, but has gotten off to a strong start in 2025. 9 hits and a .310 average over the first 7 games. He takes a slider that misses. 2 balls and a strike. Gabe Morales is the home plate umpire today.
This Blue Jay offense hasn't really turned on the power yet. Only 5 home runs so far this year, but they're leading the American League in doubles with 17.
And the highest batting average in the majors. England ran in on him at 94 miles an hour, and it's 2-2. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on deck, and then Anthony Santander against McGill in the opening inning. And Bichette fights one off.
That fastball ran in, and that's a new wrinkle for McGill, Ron.
It's called the Severino game plan. That's exactly what it is. Luis Severino, they made him throw that 2-seamer inside the righties, which opened up the lane for his slider away.
And Severino's off to a nice start in Sacramento in the next phase in his career. 2-2 to Bichette. Hit hard down to third, one hop by Vientos. And the throw across the diamond is true for the first out of the day. By the way, I talked to Mark before the game today and asked him about that play, that chopper to third where he kind of froze and then threw late to first. He said he thought the ball was foul, and that's why his feet were not set correctly.
There were so many things that went wrong in that play. I don't have enough time in between pitches to describe it, but
there's Vlad Guerrero Jr. and he hits the first one on the ground to Vientos. First pitch slider from McGill, and he gets a second straight ground out, 2 away. So McGill is disposed of the first 2, and now we'll take on the switch hitting Anthony Santander. 44 home runs for Baltimore last year. Signed a 5-year deal with the Blue Jays, $92 million. And after spending the first 8 years of his career in Baltimore, he stands right up on top of the plate. Takes on the inside corner a strike.
Oh, he drove in the 100. The average wasn't there, but the 44 bombs and the 102 RBIs, that's production.
I think that he signed before he knew they were moving the fences in at Camden Yards.
Well, Baltimore has shown they just are not going to pay that kind of money to a free agent. So he's going to have to find work elsewhere.
Well, they've been able to produce so many players through their farm system, they don't really have to. Gill spins the slider outside, and it's 1-2. Santander has a home run in 3 career at bats against McGill. That's really all McGill's given up against Toronto. Although that home run, of course, came as an Oriole. 0.52 ERA across 3 career starts. And he gets him with a back foot slider. And so McGill finishes off a productive opening inning. A couple of grounders and a strikeout. That's come to bat with no score.
Service.
Francisco Lindor greeting his owner, Steve Cohen, before taking his first home at bat of the season. You know, it was late last season that Lindor switched his walk-on music to My Girl, but it really wasn't until October that the fans started singing along. I mean, that's just awesome.
It's awesome.
That's great. And he lines the first pitch into left center for a base hit. So Lindor is going to try for two. The throw to second base, and he is out. Anthony Santander gunning down Lindor, trying to stretch a single into a double. And Lindor waits to see if the Mets challenge the call, and they're going to challenge it.
I thought he got his left hand in on the left part of the bag, third base side of the bag before the tag.
Talking with Andres Jimenez, two guys who were traded for each other, and I don't know. Did he get the right arm?
I don't think he made the tag. He missed him.
He got that left hand in before he made the tag. And Jimenez is as good a defender in the game.
Three-time Gold Glover at second base.
He dropped a swim technique on him. Right arm
Missed
taken
the tag.
away.
Oh, you're right. He's definitely safe.
How about a hustle double to start a home opener?
Bill Miller and Ron Kulpa are the crew chiefs in the replay center, and they'll make the determination. But Lindor, perhaps inspired by the sing-along, jumping on the first fastball he sees from Kevin Gausman. Play under review presented by Citizens, making sense of the play. Doug Eddings, the crew chief, made the call at second base.
After review, the call's overturned. The runner safe.
A very well executed swim move by Lindor, and the Mets win the challenge. And Lindor, with that, has his first extra base hit of the season.
You know, the swim move.
Is there some electricity in the air or what?
Yes. This feels like a postseason game.
Soto's got great career numbers against Kevin Gausman. And takes fastball for a strike. 8 for 15 with 12 walks. That's a .741 on base percentage against this quality right-hander. Lindor at second and nobody out. Bichette trying to keep him close. And Soto takes a splitter below the knees, a ball and a strike.
I pulled up a discussion that Gausman had about Soto, and he said that he just doesn't swing my split finger in the dirt. So it'll be interesting to see how he counters that.
What he's done a lot, what he did a lot in his first start this year was throw a back foot slider against left-hand hitters to try and give him another weapon. But again, Soto lays off the splitter, and it's 2-1.
Gausman's asking home plate umpire Gabe Morales, that ball down.
Soto's played 35 games in this ballpark. He has an 1175 OPS at Citi Field. Now his first is a homestander, and he takes that slider for a strike. 2-2. There's your umpiring crew: Gabe Morales, Emil Jimenez, Doug Eddings, who had his call overturned at second, and Mike Malinsky, the umpire, at third. 2-2 to Soto with Alonso on deck. Long takes that one down. 3-2. So Gausman trying to throw splitters and sliders, and Soto again has worked him to a full count.
Well, he's thrown him 3 splitters, 1 slider.
He really has two choices here. Fastball in, hard, or this hard slider that Soto took.
Kevin Gausman now 34 years old. It's his 4th year with the Blue Jays. The guy at one time was DFA'd by the Braves. He had a couple of great years in Toronto before a sort of a down year last year. Strikeout rate was certainly down. 3-2. And Soto with an emergency hack fouls off the splitter.
Boy, he barely hung in there on that one.
On the starting lineup for the Mets, Acuna and Marte both getting the start against the right-hand pitcher. Marte's got great numbers against Gausman, and with Beatty not hitting right now, they prefer to have Acuna's defense in there. Three-2 to Soto with Lindor at second after a leadoff double, and Soto pops one up on the infield. Jimenez making the call, and that's the first out. So Gausman wins that battle.
And it was a battle. That was some work.
And now Alonso. Pete is swinging the bat better than any other Met right now. After a grand slam Monday and 3-run homer on Wednesday in Miami.
He got locked in Miami. Particularly that last game.
2 doubles and a home run in that game, all clocked at 113 miles an hour or harder. And takes fastball for a strike.
You'll know early if Gausman's locked in. If it's 95, 96, he'll have a good game. 92, 93 on the velo, not so much.
Takes that fastball up out of the strike zone, 1-1. Now this was that tying home run in the 8th inning Wednesday.
I told Fauché not to throw it.
A little late.
Well, he told him before. He just wasn't listening. Here's the good splitter by Gausman, and it's 1-2.
Good split finger down. As far as workhorses are concerned, Gausman would be considered one. Since 2021, no less than 31 starts, no less than 174 innings.
But he's given up 56 first-inning home runs in his career, which is the most in the majors since he started out in 2013. So he does have early inning woes. Alonso fouls off that fastball, and it's 1-2.
And you notice right there the high target from the catcher Alejandro Kirk. They wanted that ball up. Remember, the Marlins wanted that with Pete too in that final game, that final 3-game series, and they didn't get it up. They got it down in the strike zone.
And a turn but no throw. Jimenez, who had been ducking in toward the bag, had backed away. Gausman, who grew up in Colorado, played his college baseball at LSU. 1-2 to Alonso, and he lifts one out to right field, chasing Rodin back to the warning track, and it's out of here. Pete Alonso goes the other way for a 2-run homer. Just a little half swing, and he hits it out to the other field. His 3rd home run of the year, and the Mets jump out to a 2-0 lead.
It's hard to pitch if you cannot get away with this pitch on Alonso. This is knees, outside corner, down, and he flicked it 375 feet.
The ball has really been carrying in the early season.
It sure has. And Pete, as we've mentioned in Miami, his whole focus right now, remember, he pulled too much last year, and his focus is into right center field right now.
3 home runs, 10 RBIs now for Alonso in his first 22 at-bats of the season.
Make that 57 home runs in the first inning, Gary.
First curtain call of the year. I mean, you've got to be awfully strong to do that, but that was a shocking home run.
Shocking.
I mean, the one that Otto Lopez hit off the facing of the second deck in right field in Miami, that was shocking. But even for Pete Alonso to hit a home run in that fashion is really not something you ever expect.
And, you know, interesting, something we've seen in the past, the right fielder looked like off the bat he might have a play on that, and the next thing you know, he's rubbing up a new one, or the pitcher was anyway.
It certainly makes you consider what might be going on, whether the baseball might be a little bit more jumpy than it was last year. That Mets home run means City will donate $2,000 to No Kid Hungry to help the 1 in 5 kids in America facing hunger right now. Brandon Nimmo's reached base safely in all 6 games so far this year. Hit 2 home runs in Miami. He flicks one foul. So Gausman getting into first inning woes again.
He's throwing good. I mean, like Ronnie hit the nail on the head. That pitch was knee high outside corner.
Well, it changed in the postseason, but during the regular season last year, he only hit 4 home runs the other way.
Yep.
3 of his 4 in the postseason went to the opposite field, and begun that way this year with a couple to right.
2 to right and 1 to center.
Right. Starling Marte hitting 5th in the order, waiting on deck. It's been a hard-working inning already for Gausman. He's gotten only 1 out, and he's about to throw his 20th pitch. With a full week of rest. He worked last Friday against his old team, the Orioles, and he was scheduled to pitch on Wednesday, but they decided to push him back to pitch the opener in this series. So he's got a full week, as does Tyler McGill. 8th pitch of the at-bat to Nimmo, and he fouls that fastball away to stay in the at-bat.
I think this is how the Mets offense wants to be all season long, just relentless from the get-go.
Second straight game they've scored in the first inning. Nimmo fouls off another one, and making Gausman really work hard.
And your defense for the Blue Jays, you got Guerrero at first. He won a Gold Glove back in 22, his only Gold Glove. And out there in center field, you got a 4-time All-Star in George Springer.
Up and away, and Nimmo works the count full. 10 pitches deep and still going. Pitch number 11 coming. And Nimmo keeps it rolling. Well, we saw Luis Angel Acuna have a 12-pitch at bat against Josh Hader in Milwaukee.
This is not spring training where they can take you out and you can come back the next inning.
No, I don't believe that wasn't
we got the drone working today. Love it.
Too high, ball 4, and so a 12-pitch walk for Brandon Nimmo. And 3 of the first 4 have reached base against Kevin Gausman. And that'll send the pitching coach, Pete Walker, out to the mound to talk to Gausman.
Pete Walker, one of the best pitching coaches in the game, respected by all 29 other major league teams out there to talk to his veteran. Starting pitching is supposed to be one of the strengths of this team. Gausman has been good for a real long time, but as Gary said, strikeouts really came back to the pack last year. He had 3 consecutive seasons of over 200.
Be one of the first 15,000 fans at tomorrow's game against the Blue Jays and get a Juan Soto players pin. For tickets, go to Mets.com/tickets. Yeah, in fact, Kevin Gausman led the American League in strikeouts 2 years ago. He was at 11.5 strikeouts per 9 in 23, down to 8.1 last year. So here's Starling Marte with Nimmo at first and 1 out. 2 runs already in. And Nimmo goes after a first pitch splitter, 0-1. Marte's got great numbers against Gausman. That's why he's in the lineup today, right on right. 8 for 13 with a home run. Slider catch the outside corner, 0-2.
Oh, wow. Those look like popsicles.
It looks like the way they put it on, they're trying to put the tape over our mouths.
I think they're trying their best.
I take the hint.
But we're
Well, you were talking about drones before. That's us, man.
That's right.
We're just droning.
Droning on and on.
And Marte takes a splitter down, and it's 2-2.
I think if Nimmo were running, this would be a pitcher he would run against. Gausman is slow to the plate. Kirk has a good arm, not a great one.
Not going to see a lot of running from Nimmo early on.
I think with that tender knee, we're not going to see him.
And Marte again takes the splitter out of the strike zone and held the swing, and another full count. 3 of the first 5 batters have worked a full count against Gausman.
Mets showing good patience and a good knowledge of the strike zone. They're really making Gausman work.
See if Nimmo runs. 3-2, 1 out. Not a big lead, and Gausman's going to check in on him.
Gausman doesn't want to watch out. He might get pitch counted in the first inning. Too many pitches.
Threw 97 pitches in his first start against the Orioles. That got him through 6 innings. He allowed just 3 hits in that game. Nimmo runs. 3-2 to Marte. Curveball line to third. That'll be a double play. Clement runs it halfway over and then tosses to Guerrero. 5-3 double play ends the inning, but Alonso's 2-run homer gives the Mets the early lead.
A working man.
New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Moo Moo. The Mets and Moo Moo are awarding fans special experiences, free tickets, and cash prizes all season long. Download the Moo Moo app today. Tyler McGill staked to a 2-0 lead, throws a first pitch fastball inside to Andres Jimenez. Jimenez, who began his career with the Mets in 2020, went to the Guardians in the Francisco Lindor trade and acquired by the Blue Jays in the offseason for 2 players, including Spencer Horwitz, who is not Jay Horowitz's grandson.
I wouldn't have thought so.
And Andres is off to a terrific start with the Jays. 1131 OPS through the first week of the season. He's changed his stance a little bit. He's a little more open, and his feet are a little closer together.
He was always so widespread. It's so interesting. The Guardians in the post again last year, always starving for offense, trade Naylor and Jimenez, 2 of their best offensive players, even though Jimenez did not have a good year.
As they figure their bullpen can carry them again this year. The Guardians have some of the best relief pitchers that nobody knows about in the game. I mean, everybody knows Emmanuel Clase, but Cade Smith could be as good a reliever as there is.
Torrens gets it right in the forearm, just above the glove, right above the kind of taped wristbands.
He's been getting banged up early.
He's like a target, and it started in spring training.
And he was a big part of that win in yesterday. The final game in Miami. He was a big part of that.
Well, he had the great tag. He threw out a base runner trying to steal, and then he got a hit to get the Mets started on their rally in the 8th inning. Francisco Alvarez is here today, as are all of the injured Mets. Alvarez caught Kodai Senga's bullpen today, so that's a nice sign. First bullpen he's been able to catch with that catching hand that suffered a broken bone. And
got it again.
Has just got a piece of that slider.
Got Torrens again on the hand. So he's
Alejandro Kirk on deck. And Torrens has started every game but one, and even the one he didn't start, he came off the bench and made a major contribution. Curveball bounced foul up the first baseline.
Throwing a lot of breaking balls to Jimenez.
Gill has tried to differentiate his slider and his curveball. His brother throws a really good hard curve, and he worked with Trevor in the offseason to try and adapt his grip on that pitch. And he goes with the changeup or the curveball to strike out Jimenez for the first out of the inning.
And a good one.
Straight over the top, pulled on those seams.
It's a great looking ballpark.
Yeah, it sure is.
So McGill's retired the first 4, and now Alejandro Kirk takes a strike. Got caught in a time warp.
You did.
Yes, you did. He got me out, by the way. You had to bring him up, didn't you?
Well, he came over to the Mets while you were still here, no? Or was that after you left? Hit hard down to third. Viento's been busy early in this game, and he throws out Kirk 2 away. So McGill's retired the first 5, 3 of them on ground balls to third base. So 2 out and nobody on. Now George Springer, who had a really bad season last year, and a lot of folks thought maybe his time has come, but in his age 35 season this year, he's off to a fabulous start. He takes outside ball 1. Springer's had himself quite a career since he was a first-round pick by the Astros out of UConn. Tremendous postseason hitter. Series champion Astros in 2017, earned himself a 5-year deal with the Blue Jays. And his production has gone down every year since he signed with Toronto. Last year his OPS was down to 674. That was a career low.
A lot of breaking balls this inning from McGill. Attacking with the curve.
That fastball inside on Springer and falls behind 3-1.
Speak to what you were saying about the postseason, Gary. George Springer, 19 home runs in the postseason.
It's not quite Altuve's 27,
but still,
it's not bad. McGill's first 3-ball count of the game, and Springer lines one to left center field. Siri cutting across, can't get it. It'll roll back to the wall. Springer heads for second. Nimmo goes to retrieve it. Springer's going to get 3 bases out of this. So George Springer hitting it just beyond the reach of a diving Siri, and he's got himself a 2-out triple.
I thought he got this a little towards the end, but enough barrel there for sure. High fastball away. Had some hang time. He just couldn't quite get there.
23rd career triple for Springer, his first this year. Now Will Wagner takes curveball down for ball 1. Wagner DHing today. He came up last year, played 24 games with the Jays at .305. And he's getting to play just about every day this year. Of course, he is Billy's son, and Billy is headed for Cooperstown this summer, and we could not be more thrilled.
I'd have to say Will's going to miss a couple of games in the middle of July.
Breaking ball taken down, 2 balls and a strike.
Side view right here. Watch him get on top of this pitch. Out over the strike zone. A little bit of an uppercut, but he got some tomahawk on it.
Springer's fine start continues. Wagner trying to chase him home with 2 out. Nothing but breaking balls from McGill, and it's 2-2.
Very interesting. Against the left-handed hitters, it's a heavy dose of breaking balls. The right-handed hitters, more fastballs.
I mean, I got to believe that the Mets feel that Toronto is a good fastball hitting ball club.
2-2 to Wagner. That one spins outside. 3-2. Ernie Clement would be next. Clement had a great series against the Mets in Toronto last year. Mets took 2 out of 3 in that series. McGill pitched the first game of that series through 6 scoreless innings. The last game, the Mets were being no-hit for 8 innings and wound up winning it in the 9th against Bowden Francis.
Bowden Francis will pitch the 3rd game of this series.
Springer at 3rd with 2 out. 3-2 coming to Wagner. And a fastball fouled off. So after all those breaking balls, he came to 96. And Wagner able to waste it. Wagner, one of 2 rookies in the lineup for the Jays today. The other is Alan Roden, who's playing left field and batting 9th. Seventh pitch of the at bat for McGill. And it's too high, ball 4. The Jays have 2 men on. First walk given up by McGill. And Jeremy Hefner will give him a blow. Well, the Jays, we mentioned, a disappointing year last year. Finished dead last in the American League East. Won just 74 games. And there's a lot of unhappiness in Toronto about their underperformance the last couple of years.
Yes.
Underperformance, but also don't forget, they were in on Ohtani. They were in on Soto. How far, how deep, I don't know that. But, you know, I think the fans in some ways think that they've missed out on some of the bigger name free agents.
Are they in on Arson Judge as well?
I don't know.
That was the Giants.
That's right.
Who were supposed to be signing Aaron Judge.
That's right.
Well, they were also in on Alonso. They were in that conversation this past offseason with the threat that Guerrero might be walking. They were talking about perhaps trading him. Now they're saying they're going to re-sign him, but proof will be in the pudding. Here's Ernie Clement, and he takes curveball down for ball 1 as Terren's able to stop it. Clement, who started out his career with the Guardians in .263 with 12 home runs, playing the majority of the third base for the Jays last year. And he pops one up. Alonso tracking it into foul ground. Side retired. So McGill works around a 2-out triple and a walk. It's got a 2-0 lead in the second.
Dear First Place, the road.
Fanatic Sportsbook presents streaming of SNY now on its new home, the MLB app. Don't miss a single Mets moment. Scan the code to download the MLB app today. Mark Vientos takes outside from Kevin Gausman as we start the bottom of the second. Vientos went just 1 for 13 in the series back in his hometown in Miami. Takes a slider outside, and it's 2-0.
He's laid off 2 sliders. He's been chasing, trying to cover all the plate, pressing a little bit. I think the off day probably did him some good. Get away from the game.
Gausman had a 31 pitch first inning, and he could really use himself a quick second.
You know, the thing about Gausman is he starts wide open. Most pitchers start closed, but he starts wide open because you'll watch once he brings that leg up, he really closes off. So he can start that open because he does get himself closed. Before he did that, he would stay too closed and used to always throw the ball outside and down to right-handed hitters. So that being open has allowed him to repeat those mechanics. The red glove to pick up the hint of red in that Blue Jays uniform.
Wonder if that started when that just misses inside. I was thinking with the Orioles, but they're more orange than red.
Here's the motion here from Gausman. See how he kind of kicks that leg back into his backside before delivering the baseball. The Mets have been really good laying off that split finger so far.
Yes, they have.
4th full count already for Gausman, and Vientos smacks one to center, but Springer's right there, and that's the first out.
Well, he learned his lesson right there from Pete. Came inside with that fastball, full count, went 2 strikes, and got in on the hands enough of Vientos.
So 1 out. Here's Luis Torrens, who's off to a terrific offensive start. Home run and a couple of doubles already among his 5 hits.
The home run in Miami was stunning. That was a line drive to center field. I didn't think he had that kind of power. But
I don't think that ball would have gone out without the assistance of the center fielder tipping it over the fence. You think it would have gone out?
I think it was a home run. Yes. I have to see it again. He hits a lot like Iglesias. Line drive hitter, likes to use the opposite field, the opposite gap.
And that one misses inside, and Gausman falls behind. 3-0.
You know, we tend to think of the backup catcher as a guy who's defensive oriented, doesn't hit a lot. It's different with Torrens because when he first came up as a prospect, he was hit first, defense second.
Swinging 3-0, and he flies one out to left center. Springer cuts across to make the catch.
That's interesting that he got the green light.
I think everybody's got the green light now.
I agree with you.
Unless they specifically put up the hold sign.
Well, the way the ball's been carrying early in the season, why not?
So 2 out and nobody on now. Luis Angel Acuna getting another start against a right-hander. Brett Beatty has not been hitting, so Acuna is in there today. Went 2 for 7 in the series in Miami.
He doesn't get cheated. He swings.
Takes another big rip at a fastball and fouls it back, and it's 0-2. Beatty just 1 for 14 to start the year.
Good eye.
Lay off that slider, and it's 1-2.
They've done a good job. Gausman likes to expand that strike zone with this breaking ball and his splitter. And the Mets so far have done a really good job to make him throw it for a strike.
Bounces that splitter, and it's 2-2. Gosman in his first start against the Orioles did not give up a hit against a right-hand batter. They were 0 for 8 against him, and Alonso hit that 2-run homer. Now Acuna battling him. This is only the second game Kevin Gausman has ever started in this ballpark. He started one game here as a Brave in 2018. And Acuna pops one up, retreating as Jimenez onto the outfield grass. And so Gausman has himself a 1-2-3 inning. 2-0 Mets.
Taxes was feeling so stunned.
Here Connor and Joe's early thoughts on the starting rotation, bullpen, and lineup. That pretty much covers it on the latest episode of the Mets Pod, presented by Tri-State Cadillac. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts. Connor and Joe, they're all over it. Alan Roden, the rookie right fielder, bounces one down to Alonso. McGill gets over to cover. 1 pitch and 1 out for McGill, who's now gotten 4 ground ball outs, first time through the batting order.
Nice easy hop for Pete and a good angle to throw.
He's really worked on his throwing, which was a source of some concern last year.
I always felt when I had a ball in the hole and it was at a right angle, I'm throwing almost with the to the pitcher, but with the baseline from first to second, is that my eyes told me to throw it here, and I would say, okay, that is an optical illusion. Throw it 5 feet in front of him further, and it worked.
Wow.
Yep. That's through experience. You learn those things.
You're like the amazing Kreskin. Just move the baseball.
It was like Namath to Maynard over the middle.
Lamans. Maynard deep. Here's Bo Bichette, and he takes outside 2-0. Bichette grounded out to third base his first time up. Never forget his dad. Opening day,
Dante.
Coors Field, 1995. First game ever at Coors Field. Mets and Rockies. 14th inning. And Dante goes deep, pumps his fist. It's like a 5-hour game, 35 degrees.
The Blake Street Bombers.
They were exactly that.
They packed them in back
Vinny
then.
Castilla and Ellis Burks and Andres Galarraga.
They packed them in.
Bichette goes after a high fastball. 2-2.
Throwing a few more fastballs this inning, which I like. And that one up in the strike zone.
It's not all sinkers from McGill. He's still got that four-seamer to go to the top of the zone with. then he goes down, and Bichette fouls it off. I mean, when you pitched,
Yeah.
how many guys threw four-seamers and two-seamers regularly? Is that a rarity?
I wouldn't say it's a rarity, but you did have your strength. It wasn't like a 50-50 thing.
And he gets him looking at a sinker. And that's the second out. Third strikeout from McGill.
You know what I mean? Like, it was very rare that you would face a guy whose four-seamer was as good as his two-seamer. One usually was better than the other pitch. But you tried to include both pitches because some lineups would make you throw a four-seamer. And I was a two-seam guy.
Right, you were a two-seam guy.
Yep.
Did you throw more four-seamers later in your career when you had to kind of improvise more?
No, I throw more breaking balls later in my career. If I faced the '85 Cardinals, I had to throw a lot of four-seamers because you had to get the ball in and up on those left-handed hitters, especially in.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. grounded out his first time. He laces this one into center field for a base hit. Second hit for the Jays. And the first hit ever for Guerrero against McGill. He had been 0 for 8.
Breaking ball stayed right in. That's how it's done.
He can flat out hit.
That was pretty good too. That's why he's got a bust in Cooperstown.
I was thinking that with Pete at first base and Guerrero there, and they're jawing back and forth. They must have, every All-Star game, you seem to spend a lot of time together, those two, right? The home run derbies.
Yeah. So where do you want to play next year? I don't know. Where do you want to play next year? Anthony Santander struck out his first time up. McGill tries a slider to the back foot. Misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Early seasons have been fruitful for McGill, but then again, so was the late season for him last year after he reworked himself during a trip to the minor leagues. Pop up on the infield. Vientos and Acuna both calling. Vientos takes charge, and that retires the side. So McGill's turned in 3 scoreless, and the Mets lead at 2-0.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, liberty, liberty. Liberty.
We go to the bottom of the third at Citi Field. Mets with a 2-0 lead. Jose Siri leads off against Kevin Gausman. He's thrown 46 pitches over the first 2 innings. Siri takes fastball strike. Siri 1 for 9 to start the year. It's been a timeshare in center field for Siri and Tyrone Taylor. It looks like it's going to remain that for the time being. Slider popped up into shallow right, and Roden, the right fielder, loses the cap, catches the ball, 1 out. Francisco Lindor had a hustle double to left center his first time up. I mean, that's just awesome. That's awesome. That's great.
Got a fastball away, went right with it, and then the hustle. And then the phantom slide.
Originally called out, turned, and then he scored in front of Alonso's home run. And he takes a slider at his feet. 1 ball, 1 strike. Any of you were in the building for Otis Williams of the Temptations when they brought him in with his new Temps to perform My Girl during the postseason last year.
Wish I'd been here. I mean, the Temps were playing in my house every day. My mom loved the Temptations.
You more of an Eddie Kendricks guy or a David Ruffin guy?
Personally, I'm a David Ruffin guy.
I mean, David Ruffin was smooth, but Eddie could hit those great high notes.
Yes, he could. Keep on trucking. I personally, I was a Four Tops guy.
Really?
Tops.
Levi Stubbs?
I love the Four Tops.
Bernadette, one of the great plaintive songs of all time. Up the middle, but right behind the bag is Bichette to throw out Lindor, 2 out. So Gausman, after a rough beginning, is now set down 6 in a row, and here's Juan Soto's second at bat. Soto popped up his first time up. Juan has drawn 6 walks, has got his on-base percentage almost to 400, but he hasn't quite looked himself yet.
He looked good in Houston, and then he just kind of regressed in Miami. I think he's just kind of he leans back when he swings, and he's got to. Sometimes he flies that shoulder open too quick.
Gausman can't get him to swing at a splitter. He's just not going after him. Strike to Soto. Alonso would be next. 2 out and nobody on. That's up 2-0 in the third. And Soto grounds this one on the right side. Guerrero ranging wide, feeds the pitcher Gausman, and he's now retired 7 straight. That's with the 2-0 lead after 3 in the home opener.
And we should stop now.
Yeah.
Last September, we lost Mets icon Ed Kranepool, who played in more games than anybody in Mets history. Part of the Mets' 1969 championship team, the 1973 National League championship team. Ed Kranepool, who was such a piece of the fabric with this Mets franchise, signed as a 17-year-old out of James Monroe High School in the Bronx. And the Mets are wearing a number 7 patch this year, commemorating Ed's life. Let's check in with Steve Gelbs, who's standing by with one of Ed's teammates.
Gary, thanks so much. Here with Art Shamsky, who, yes, was, of course, a teammate on that 1969 Miracle Mets team, but also a lifelong friend of Ed Kranepool. And I know you said to me that it's a bittersweet day to be back here, opening day of the festivities, but a day without Ed for the first time.
Yeah, Eddie was such a great friend of mine and had so many great memories. You know, when he passed away, I told people it was sort of like my youth was taken away from me. I had the same feeling when Shea was being torn down, but we lost 5 guys from that team last year, and you know, it's just a tough day. But I'm with Eddie's family, and we're reminiscing and telling some fun stories. But Eddie was a terrific friend of mine, and we shared so many moments together. We did so many appearances together. I told a story that I think people really loved Eddie because not so much for his statistics, but because he was from New York. He was the first real big Met bonus baby, and people just loved him about him. And so I remember when I used to go out with him, and inevitably somebody would come up to him and say, Eddie Kranepool, Monroe High School in the Bronx. Yeah, Eddie said, yeah, I was in your graduating class. I said to him one day, how many kids were in your graduating class? He said about 1,000. I said 25,000 people have told me and told you that they were in your graduating class. So we used to laugh about it, but it's sad for me because we were such good friends 50-something years, and he was the first guy that when I got traded over to the Mets kind of took me under his wing, and he was younger than me. Yeah. He was street smart, but great memories with Eddie.
So you get traded over to the Mets before that 68 season. He was obviously one of the original Mets.
No, we're not on.
What did he mean to that clubhouse and the culture that was forming at the time?
One of the great things about that team, Steve, is that we weren't expected to win. And Eddie was a perfect example of a guy who had gone through some really dark times with the team, years where they were losing 100 games and more. And I remember when he hit the home run in Game 3 of the World Series, and I remember saying to myself, he's basically very young, but his life is going full circle. He went from those horrible teams to hitting a home run in the World Series. And Eddie had the experience. He had those street smarts, and he was a player rep at 22 or 23 years old. So for me, I just have great memories about him.
Now, Art, I know you've got a new book out that's called it's Mets Stories That I Only Tell My Friends, correct?
Yeah, Mets Stories.
So give me one good Mets story you would only tell your friends about Ed Kranepool.
Well, Eddie, I just told him to you, so but you got to get the book to read about it.
Got it. Art Shamsky, thank you so much for the time. It's great seeing you. Wish it was under better circumstances, but what an amazing career, what an amazing Met, and what an amazing life for Ed Kranepool.
It's always great to be out here. Thanks.
All right, thanks so much. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Steve, and thanks to Art. I haven't had a chance to read Art's book. It really is terrific.
I did too.
As Alejandro Kirk pops one up near home plate, and Torrens will catch it in fair territory, 2 out. He says that there have been more books written about the 69 Mets probably than any team in history, but that he wanted to kind of approach it from a different perspective, and he tells stories that maybe people haven't heard before.
That's
and
right.
I think that's what makes the book special.
Yeah, he did a great job. Art is a lifetime friend. Met him as soon as I made the big leagues for the Mets, and just one of the great guys.
Here's George Springer with 2 out. And he takes a slider off the plate for ball 1. Springer tripled to left center his first time up. Was left stranded. Tyler McGill's allowed just 2 hits over the first 3 2/3, looking very sharp. You know, we started seeing this late last year after Tyler came back from the minor leagues, and it's carried over into this season. His stuff is so good that as long as he throws strikes, he's usually in pretty good shape.
And gets himself in pitchers counts, you know.
Here he's falling behind 2-0. Gets a swinging strike on a sinker. Springer fouls it off, 2-1.
The only extra base hit he's given up in this game was the triple to Springer, which was on a 3-1 count. So You know, pitcher's counts are important for McGill, but I think he's got more weapons now than he ever has to get hitters out.
It's funny that you say that, since he's throwing fewer pitches now than he has before. Fly ball out to right center, and this one should be easy for Siri. And he puts it away to retire the side. 1-2-3 for McGill in the fourth. Mets lead 2-0.
Financial futures.
Pete Alonso's accounted for the only 2 runs in this game. 2-run homer in the first inning. His third in the last 4 games. And he'll lead off for the Mets in the bottom of the fourth.
Well, here's the home run. 2 runs in the ball game. Just a flick of the wrist. Pitcher's pitch. Down and away on the block. Knees, and Pete had the answer.
Gives Pete 3 home runs and 10 RBIs. This is only the 7th game of the season. There have only been 4 other Mets ever to have 3 home runs and 10 RBIs in the first 7 games of the season. Steve Henderson, 1978. Darryl Strawberry, 1987. Mike Piazza, 2001, and John Buck, 2013.
Oh, right.
John Buck. Remember that? That was a great start. Nimmo and Marte to follow after Alonso. Gausman behind 2-0. Gausman's retired 7 straight since a rough first inning, and gets that splitter in for a strike. 2-1.
Yeah, it was a get-me-over splitter. 2-0 count.
Well, Alonso hit a fastball for the home run. He's seen a slider and 2 splitters.
There's a fastball. He fouls it off. 2-2.
There's the fastball up and in, and we're going to see. Watch how they attack Pete, particularly Gausman, after he give up a home run and the ball away. Note that he just came inside 2-1 behind the count and beat Pete. They're going to go back in again.
And that one's too high, and yet another full count for Gausman, who's run more than his share early in this game. It's already his 5th full count, working to his 12th batter. He hasn't struck out anybody so far today. I mentioned his strikeouts were down last year. This bouncer down to third, backing off is Clement, spins and throws, 1 out. Check out the road ahead, presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Night game tomorrow, bring your Woolies. Day game Sunday, and then 2 night games and a day game against the Marlins coming up next week before the Mets head to Sutter Home Park in Sacramento, in West Sacramento.
West Sacramento.
West Sacramento.
I wouldn't want you to go east.
Sacramento and Minnesota on that next trip. Nimmo gets a hold of one to right, but Roland is right there, and he's got it 2 out. 9 straight retired by Gausman. There are your city probables for the remainder of the series. Let's face their former mate Chris Bassett tomorrow night. Griffin Canning, who looked very good in his first start, goes for the Mets. And David Peterson Sunday against Bowden Francis, who threw 8 no-hit innings against the Mets in Toronto last year.
The ball is jumping out of that ballpark in Sacramento, by the way.
Starling Marte, who lined into a double play his first time up.
It's been jumping pretty much everywhere. It jumped in Miami. It was shocking.
It's pretty amazing after the first series in Houston. Nothing went anywhere. Topped foul by Marte, and it's 1-1. Doesn't it always go this way? Nimmo had a 12-pitch at bat his first time up, hit the first pitch second time. Marte takes a splitter down. 2 balls and a strike.
Marte really holds his hands high, but then he drops them. But he does like to flick the bat back and forth. A lot of movement.
As Gary Sheffield a little bit.
Yep.
Popped up in his shallow right, and again Roden loses the hat, catches the ball. That's 10 in a row set down by Gausman. Still 2-0 New York.
Honda Sports Night on SNY.
Bythescan.org.
Well, we've got the drone working today, and we get these unique shots of Citi Field and the city beyond.
Wow.
5th inning, Will Wagner leads off for Toronto and swings and fouls back a high fastball from Tyler McGill. Wagner drew a walk his first time up, the only walk that McGill has issued. Tyler has struck out 3, given up no runs and 2 hits. He allowed just 1 run and 3 hits over 5 innings in his first start.
Good curve. He's really snapping some curves off.
I mean, that was late breaking and beautiful.
McGill threw 77 pitches in his first start. He's at 60, working in the 5th inning today. This is down with the slider that time. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Lower third of the order for Toronto: Wagner, Clement, and Roden. Left, right, left. Lower part of the order has been big for Toronto so far this year. Wagner and Roden especially, but McGill strikes him out with a curveball, and he's got his 4th strikeout of the day.
He's got that slider curveball mix working, and this one acts almost like a sweeper. Starts on the outside corner. See that middle finger right on the seam as he pulls down, and ahead in the count, able to throw that ball out of the zone. That is pitching, not throwing.
You know, every pitcher has a different maturation process. In the air to left field, and right there waiting for it is Nimmo. And Clement retired on 1 pitch, 2 out. I mean, some guys get to the big leagues like Doc Gooden at 19 and they thrive. Some guys it takes longer.
It takes longer, and I always think that the bigger guys take a little longer. I mean, he's 6'7" tall. Everything about him is big. There's a lot of movement, a lot of moving parts. Sometimes it's hard to get those mechanics repeated.
No better example of that than Randy Johnson.
Go.
2 out and nobody on. Now Alan Roden, the number 9 hitter, grounded out his first time up. Roden came out of Creighton, 3rd round draft pick in 2022. 16 home runs, 865 OPS in AA and AAA last year. He made the opening day roster. And a check swing foul on a fastball, and it's 1-1.
The first time I'd ever seen Randy Johnson. He was with Montreal. It was a spring training game, and Davey Johnson asked me to bunt against him. That was the first time I was like, you got to be kidding. He was a little wild in those days. Still threw 100.
I faced him one time in my career. When he was with Montreal, he came up late. I believe it was a September call-up. And he threw the first pitch 10 feet over my head. I wanted nothing to do with it.
Did you do a John Kruk? Just bail out?
My heart wasn't.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the
Feeding the Post. Best delivery guy ever, Peter Zahut. The Cheesy Bites Pizza and new Ranch Lovers Flight. Get it on the Pizza Hut app.
Home 5th inning, 2-0 New York. Mark Vientos leads off against Kevin Gausman. Gausman got off to a rough beginning in this game. Gave up a double to Lindor, a 2-run homer to Alonso, a walk to Nimmo, but since then he's retired 10 in a row, including Vientos on a fly ball to center his first time. And Mark takes that slider down. 2 balls and no strikes. Vientos, then Torrens and Acuna for the Mets in the 5th. First final of the day, the Tigers won their home opener, beat the White Sox 7-4. Jack Flaherty 5 2/3, 1 run for the win. The Padres 7-0 start is in jeopardy. They're down 3-1 to the Cubs in the 8th in the Wrigley home opener. And Rockies home opener, 37 degrees at game time.
On point
for the Rockies and A's. Off the fist to center field, but right there is Springer, who has to come in a couple of steps to grab it. Did not come off the fat part of the bat, so it didn't go as far as Springer was expecting.
Gausman's starting to. He made the adjustment. He's starting to pitch more inside.
Meanwhile, are Lynn and Rice in the lineup for the Red Sox today? They're up 8-6 on the Cardinals in the 7th. Celebrating the 75 team today. Everybody's celebrating the teams that didn't quite win the World Series. The Mets.
That's right.
2010 and
2000.
2015, 2000.
Yep.
Red Sox 1975. It's hard to believe that's 50 years ago. Now back by Torrens 1-1.
My favorite player on that 75 team, and there were so many great players, was Butch Hobson. I was always a Butch Hobson fan. He always had like the elbow guard because he had a bad elbow.
He was a blue-collar guy. He was strong.
Yeah, from Alabama. Played quarterback for Alabama.
See, I thought you were going to say Rick Burleson.
Rick
because
Burleson.
I know Rico Petrocelli was your guy on the 67 Red Sox.
Rick Burleson was one of my favorite players, and then he was coach with the Athletics, and he rode me hard. So we have a different relationship.
Oh. Torrens flying to center his first time up. So I've got a game from 1994, Seattle and Oakland. Ron Darling against Randy Johnson. Unit goes 9, allows no runs and 4 hits. Ronnie goes 9, allows 1 run and 8 hits. Seattle wins 1-0. Who got you?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember who was playing in Seattle in '94.
Maybe their manager.
Oh, Dan Wilson. Yeah.
He hit me hard.
1-2 coming to Torrens. That's down low. Dan Wilson, yet another guy moving out of the broadcast booth into the manager's chair.
You don't have to worry about that here.
I don't know. One of these days. Well, I think maybe he's going to be here for a while.
It's a supply and demand thing. No demand.
on whose part?
On all 30.
Torrens pulls one down to third. Clement on the backhand. He's a good fielder. Wide throw though, and Vladdy comes off the bag and puts the tag on Torrens. 2 out.
Nice hop for Clement. Throw towards into the runner. Out by a mile. You can get away with that. Nicely done.
So that's 12 in a row retired by Gossman. And now Luis Angel Acuna. And shortens up a third against the threat of the bunt, but so far Acuna's done nothing but take big hacks in this game. Popped up to second base his first time up. Back a high fastball from Gossman. It's 0-2.
One of the reasons that front offices like veteran starting pitchers is because if you were a young guy and opening a day in an opponent's ballpark, you might not make the adjustment after giving up a 2-run home run. You never saw his attitude changed, but he made the adjustment and came inside.
Fly ball center field. Springer is there, and that retires the side, and that's 13 in a row retired by Gossman. Still 2-0 Mets after 5.
Optimism is
block. What you need in stock. With service so good, it's guaranteed.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
6th inning, third time around the batting order for Tyler McGill. First pitch curveball in for a strike to Bo Bichette.
I have never seen Tyler get the curveball over like he's doing today. He is in a fine form, a beautiful rhythm.
Well, he worked hard with his brother during the offseason to refine that curveball, and clearly he's getting some results with it.
Brother's got a little different arm angle. Throws a little more over the top than Tyler does, but it's all about how compact it is and how it's spinning, and it's spinning different than we've seen in years past.
Bichette is grounded to third and taking a call third strike, 0 for 2. This is upstairs with a four-seamer, 1-2. Vlad Guerrero Jr. on deck, and then Anthony Santander for the Jays. Got a triple from Springer in the second, a single from Guerrero in the third, and that's been it. McGill's retired the last 7, while Gausman has retired the last 13. And the curveball fouled off, still 1-2.
Seems like it's a lot more curveballs than 11.6%, Ron.
Yeah, I think they're confusing slider and curveball.
Right.
Yeah, they're definitely having trouble differentiating the two breaking balls in the StatCast. That's hooked to third, caught by Vientos. 1 out. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Spring is the season for new beginnings and the best time to get behind the wheel of a sophisticated new Cadillac SUV. Visit your Tri-State Cadillac dealer today. There's Guerrero, who had a base hit to center field his last time up, 1 for 2 on the day. The way he holds that bat out near his ear reminds me so much of his dad.
Yes. Well, he's as aggressive as his dad as well. His dad was a better bat ball hitter, but he does not strike out, and he is so aggressive. He's going to put the first 3 or 4 balls in play. That's what he's trying to do.
He's got a very different body type than his dad, who was much taller and leaner.
That had long legs.
But that waggle near the ear, that is so familiar. Of course, the number 27, which is the number that Vladdy wore for most of his career. Dad was one of the greats of all time. The best arms in right field and all that incredible offensive ability. He could have hit a ball off the ground over the fence. 0-2 coming. And Guerrero takes outside 1-2. We mentioned it's McGill's third time around the order. Take a look at a great drone shot above Citi Field. Pitchers pay a price third time around the order. McGill was great last year when he got to face opposing lineups a third time. They batted just 173 against him third time around. And you can see that, right? Because we talk about pitchers as though they're all the same. Some of them are bigger and stronger and better able to hold their stuff later into games. And maybe McGill, given a chance, is one of those. In the dirt with a slider, and it's 3-2.
I also think if he gets the third time around the lineup, it means he's having a good game already, so they let him go. You know, it's interesting. You see some of the pitchers from 30, 40 years ago. You'll say, well, the fourth time through the lineup, they were amazing. Well, they were having one of their shutout games. That's why they were amazing the fourth time through.
But that's part of why you have to use your eyes as a manager and not necessarily the pitch count clicker to decide whether a guy's done. Anthony Santander waits on deck. 3-2 coming to Guerrero. And he walked him up to the backstop. And Guerrero down to first base as Torrens retrieves it. There's the second walk given up on McGill, and Guerrero's on base for the second time. Stirring around after that walk in the Mets bullpen. Nobody throwing as yet, but it looks like that's about to change. Here is Santander, who has struck out and popped up 0 for 2. This is inside, ball 1. Reed Garrett, first man up in the Mets bullpen. He was the first guy out of the bullpen on Wednesday and got 4 outs. Mets used 7 of their 8 relief pitchers in that game on Wednesday to win in 11 innings. Only Max Kranick, who had gone 3 innings the night before, did not pitch. So it's a good thing the Mets had an off day yesterday. Of course, that's one of the reasons why Carlos Mendoza used all of his top guys even when they were behind in the game on Wednesday, because he knew he had an off day coming up yesterday. Didn't know he was going to have to go 11 innings though. Now McGill after a walk behind 2-0, and Santander takes inside. Now it's 3-0. Andres Jimenez, left-hand batter, waiting on deck.
This is the time that the hitter will swing 3-0, down 2 runs, got a big home run hitter, hit over 40 last year.
Tying run at bat in a 2-0 game. And Santander does swing and fouls one back. Turan's coming back hoping, but it's in the crowd about 4 rows deep. By the way, do you see we have new seats in prime position right next to the dugouts? There's 3 or 4 rows of seats where Steve used to sit, right there.
Oh, I see.
That seat right there, that used to be where Steve sat.
Where do they push Steve to? Is that why we haven't heard from him?
He's a little.
Steve's down the line,
further out.
I think the further side of the dugout.
Steve was not paying as much of a premium for his seat as those folks are. 3-1 coming, and Santander takes it high, ball 4. So back-to-back walks issued by McGill, and now the tying runs are on base.
Where is Steve?
Hey guys.
Where are you?
I'm just on the other side.
So you're past the dugout now.
I'm past the dugout. The problem is, do you see what I'm looking at right here? Are we zoomed out?
Oh yeah.
I got a great shot of the camera. Home plate, not so much. But you're doing a great job describing what's happening.
But Steve,
yeah,
it's a really nice tie you're wearing.
Thank you very much.
I think you should wear ties more often. The orange in the tie contrasts the blue in your suit very well. Meanwhile, Tyler McGill is done for the day after issuing back-to-back walks with 1 out of the 6th. And Reed Garrett will come out of the bullpen to try to protect a 2-0 lead. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Nissan. Shop NissanUSA.com.
Guys, this weekend's Bet and Get offer presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. Friday through Sunday, bet on MLB and get rewarded. Stay tuned for exclusive offers all season long and see full promotional terms in the Fanatics Sportsbook app.
Reed Garrett will make his 3rd appearance of the season, coming in with 2 men on.
Well, almost everyone to a man in that bullpen has done their job when they've been asked to. Put in the fire here, though. Garrett here in the 6th.
Came in with 2 men on in the 5th inning on Wednesday and got a ground out to get through that inning, and then worked the 6th as well in Miami.
Mendy has confidence more than anybody in that bullpen with Garrett coming in with men on base.
Andres Jimenez is struck out and grounded out 0 for 2. Tying runs aboard with 1 out. And the first pitch cutter in for a strike to Jimenez, 0-1. McGill goes 5 1/3, 82 pitches, just 2 hits, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, and hoping Garrett can save him a couple of runs. Jimenez goes after another cutter, and it's 0-2.
It's become one of Garrett's favorite pitches to throw when he comes into a game. That cutter to get ahead.
Now he'll go out of the strike zone with his splitter, which was his prime weapon last year, but he threw it too much middle of the season and ran into difficulty before he refined his repertoire later in the year. And there's the split, and Jimenez held the swing. Third base umpire Mike Malinsky giving him a pass.
I thought he missed that. What do you think, Keith?
Looking. No. What do you think, Ron?
I thought he did. Yeah, I thought he offered at it, but close.
1-2 coming. Swing and a miss. Went right back to the splitter to get him. So Garrett strikes out Jimenez for the second out.
Boy, he just ate him up. That at bat.
This is a good one here. This ball takes a right turn and dives.
So 2 out and 2 on. Now Alejandro Kirk, who's grounded out and popped up 0 for 2. And Kirk goes after a first pitch cutter, 0-1.
Oh, Jerry.
And Matthew.
Hello, Jerry.
Bounces away from Torrens. A little bit too much pull down on that splitter, and the runners move up to second and third.
Torrens had no chance.
I mean, this is a 50-footer?
So now the tying runs are in scoring position with 2 down. Alejandro Kirk, who got a 5-year contract extension right before the season began. It's extension season. 1-1 coming. Swing and a miss and a slider, and it's 1-2. The one I couldn't get was Garrett Crochet. I mean, he's a great pitcher, but how do you give him that much money in that many years for a guy who can't stay on the mound?
That's right.
Garrett ahead on Kirk, 1-2. Struck him out. Got him with a splitter. Back-to-back strikeouts for Reed Garrett to strand a couple in the 6th. 2-0 New York.
We wouldn't settle for bait man when there's
Tyler McGill, 5 1/3 scoreless innings today. He's now given up only 1 run against the Blue Jays in 4 career starts.
I mean, horses for courses, right?
And through his first 2 starts of this season, McGill has a 0.87 ERA. 4 straight years he started out spring training on the outside looking in. 4 straight years he was in the opening rotation. And most of those years he's got off to a great start.
That's right.
Kevin Gausman still out there for the Blue Jays. He's retired 13 straight as he takes on Jose Siri, who fouls back his first fastball, 0-1. Siri flied out to right his first time up. Francisco Lindor on deck, and then Juan Soto. Mets had 2 hits, first 3 batters, double by Lindor, 2 on homer by Alonso, but nothing since. Warner's even with the bag against Siri. And he gets a breaking ball and flies it out to center. Springer had a late start. Back to the warning track at the fence. He makes the catch. Great recovery by Springer, who froze on that ball before he started his retreat and caught it right up against the 408 mark.
I'm amazed that the ball carried 408. He let go with one hand. Nice play by George. By George.
One out. Here's Francisco Lindor, who doubled as the game began in the first inning, and then scored in front of Alonso's home run. And he grounded out to short in the third. By the way, the Blue Jays, talking about their outfield, they're without their best defensive outfielder, Dalton Varsho, who's coming off shoulder surgery. Probably expect to see Springer in the DH role most of the time when Varsho's healthy. The winds are capricious at Citi Field. Just because the flags are blowing in one direction doesn't mean it goes that way on the field. Lindor takes one down to 3-0. We saw that in Miami the other day. The wind was just circling all over the place.
I mean, with the dome roof not closed, the outfielders had a heck of a time, didn't they?
Shane Taylor had a miserable time. Ball landed in front of him.
Dangerous pitch.
And he takes outside, ball 4. Just the second walk of the day for Gausman as he starts his 3rd time around the batting order. And now Soto will come up with a man on. And John Schneider is going to come out and make a pitching change. Mason Fluharty is on to pitch for the Jays here in the 6th. We'll be right back. Left-hander Mason Fluharty on to pitch to Juan Soto with 1 out and 1 on the 6th. His first slider's outside for ball 1.
Underdog story for Fluharty, who came in as a non-roster invitee, made the team. He is on the far first base side of that rubber, almost like he's thrown behind Soto.
And he lines one down the right field line. That's an extra base hit for Soto. Lindor to third. It's kicked around out there by Roden, so Lindor is going to be waved home. Jimenez makes the toss to the plate, not in time. Juan Soto with his first Citi Field hit as a Met drives in a run with a double, and it's 3-0 New York.
Got himself a hanging slider.
Yeah, flat slider, huh, Keith?
Flat and too much plate. And the botch right there off the wall allows Lindor to score. Stays in. Well, he really takes a stride, doesn't he?
Now they'll walk Alonso intentionally and bring up another left-hand batter for Fluharty to face. It is a double and an RBI for Soto. No error, despite the fact that Roden had trouble picking that ball up in the right field corner. So Nimmo bats with 2 on and 1 out. A run home here in the 6th to make it 3-0 New York. Nimmo has walked and flied out 0 for 1. Soto at second, Alonso at first. And he drives one down the right field line. That's going to go to the wall. Soto around third. He will score. Alonso will be held at third. Brandon Nimmo with an RBI double to make it 4-0 New York. So they bring in the left-hander out of the bullpen, and both Soto and Nimmo left on left produce extra base hits to drive in a run.
First ball, fastball hitting. Down, head out over the plate, right down the pipe, and good aggressive attack. Remember, Brandon, this is how far he's come. When he came up for years, would always take a first strike, first pitch. Not anymore.
Especially with guys on base.
Yep.
So Fluharty has faced 3 batters. They've all reached base, and now he'll come out of the game, and they'll bring the right-hander in, the former Met Jacob Barnes. Mets with a 4-0 lead and looking for more in the 6th. We'll be right back. Let's check out the T-Mobile coverage cam. The pitches to Soto and Nimmo.
kind of a bigger cutter or slider there,
this
and
is
then
the
cutter.
Same location.
Location out and away from the left-handed hitter.
Right down the pipe.
Jacob Barnes in to face Starling Marte. The infield comes in with the Mets already up 4-0. Barnes pitching now with his 9th different major league team. He was a Met in 2021. That didn't go particularly well. He misses away with a cutter, and it's 1-1. Marte's 0 for 2, lined into a double play and fly to right. First run of this inning charged to Kevin Gausman, who went 5 1/3, allowed 3 runs, 2 hits, 2 walks, and no strikeouts. First time in Gausman's 13-year major league career that he's pitched at least 4 innings and not struck out a batter. To Marte with Mark Vientos on deck. And Barnes tries a cutter, and Marte held the swing, and it's 3-1. Barnes pitched in Washington last year. He was in 63 games for the Nats. There's a propensity for giving up the long ball. And that's driven to center field. That'll get a run in. Springer makes the catch. Coming down the line is Alonso. The throw goes toward third, and it's 5-0 New York. Sacrifice fly for Starling Marte. And the Mets have scored 3 times here in the 6th inning.
One of my favorite things is for an offense is to watch a pro at bat, right? Goes up there, gets a sac fly, gets the runner in.
So 2 out. Nimmo still at second, and here's Mark Vientos, who's been up twice and flied to center both times. And takes a fastball up and away from Barnes. Ball 1. Let's have A.J. Minter on call in the bullpen. After Reed Garrett did some heroic work in the top of the 6th, coming in with 2 men on and picking up back-to-back strikeouts to keep the shutout intact. 2 balls and a strike to Vientos. Mets have had only 4 hits in this game, but they've all been for extra bases. Doubles by Lindor, Soto, and Nimmo. A home run for Alonso. 5 runs on only 4 hits. And Vientos goes after a splitter, and it's 2-2. Splitter's a new pitch for Barnes this year. That's in their first 6 games this year. Hit just 146 with runners in scoring position. They're 2 for 3 today. Full count to Vientos. Luis Torrens would be next.
Got to be smart here if you're Vientos. You're looking for that ball, of course, middle. But with the base open, you're probably going to get another breaking ball, maybe even out of the zone.
Well, he's been chasing.
Yeah,
you know, they're going to until he stops.
You're right.
Pops this one up on the left side. And Bichette waits for it to come down. That retires the side, but the Mets put up 3 in the bottom of the 6th to stretch their lead. 5-0 going to the 7th.
Dear unbreakable spirit.
For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's.
Your PNC Bank slow moments. Francisco Lindor with the evasive maneuver. The hustle double. Pete Alonso a flick of the wrist for a 2-run homer, and Tylor Megill with the newly refined curveball. Well, congratulations, you picked a good one. A.J. Minter makes his first Citi Field appearance as a Met and misses inside to George Springer, ball 1. Minter had a rough go of it in Miami on Wednesday. Gave up a couple of runs in 2/3 of an inning. And he wins that cutter inside, 2-0 to Springer.
Almost threw a pitch while falling. Tried to anyway.
I mean, the Mets were arguing that it was not a walk because he released the ball, but got no satisfaction. That's looped into right field, a base hit for Springer. He's got his second hit of the day. And so the Jays have just their 3rd hit of the game.
Looked like a little fastball away that had crept over the middle of the plate. Springer swinging a hot bat here to start 2025.
Cubs won their home opener today, beat the Padres 3-1. Shota Imanaga off to a great start, 7 1/3 innings, 4 hits. It's the Cubs' 10th game. It's his 3rd start.
Right?
Because, of course, he started in Japan a week earlier than everybody else. Will Wagner has walked and struck out 0 for 1. And Minter catches the inside corner with that cutter. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's got to be very weird for A.J. Minter after 8 years pitching for the Braves. Be even weirder when the Mets play the Braves for the first time. Now on the other side of that rivalry, there's a good cutter, and he's ahead on Wagner 1-2.
Well, Minter has always been one of the best left-handed relievers in the National League East for all those years.
One-two coming. First a toss over. Springer at this point in his career not really a threat to run, especially down 5-0. Wagner takes cutter outside. It's 2-2. Tylor Megill went 5 1/3, allowed no runs and 2 hits. Reed Garrett struck out 2 batters to strand 2 runners in the 6th, and now Minter picking it up in the 7th. Mention how Carlos Mendoza ran through his bullpen on Wednesday. Has a good cutter for a strikeout. So he just kept running that cutter up against the left-hand batter, and he gets Wagner for the first out.
See, just gets on the outer third of that ball and then throws it just like a fastball.
So 1 out and 1 on now. Ernie Clement. Well, there's a good changeup to start him off. 0-1. So the Mets used 7 relievers on Wednesday. Now starting today, assuming no rainouts, the Mets will play 19 of the next 20 days. They've got this 6-game homestand, a day off to travel to the West Coast, and then they play 13 straight days.
Got some cold weather coming here. It'll not be so bad in Sacramento. It'll be beautiful, I'm sure, in Sacramento. And then you guys go to Minnesota.
That's launched down the left field line by Clement. Right down the line, hooking. Fair ball, home run. A 2-run homer for Ernie Clement to get the Jays on the board. I'm not sure whether that was fair or foul, but the third base umpire, Mike Malinsky, called it fair. Let's see. Well, this is going to get overturned. That's a foul ball.
What are they looking at? Gosh, if it get the super chicken in the eye chart.
Well, Clement is circling the bases, but the umpires are circling their wagons.
Good Lord.
And we'll see if they overrule it on the field or whether they'll send it to video review.
God.
But either way, it's going to get overturned.
When you're watching those balls down the line, if the ball disappears, it's a home run behind the pole. If it doesn't disappear and you see it the entire time, it means it went in front of the pole.
And they're going to go to replay. The only other person who would have an angle on that ball would be the home plate umpire, Gabe Morales. But rather than overrule it on the field, they're going to go to review, and they'll overrule it in the replay center. Clearly, it's a foul ball.
Yeah, and watching Mike, he wasn't that certain even after he gave the home run call. It took him a beat. And remember who has a great view of that? The Mets bench.
Play under review presented by Citizens, making sense of the play. This shouldn't take long. Bill Miller and Ron Kulpa are the crew chiefs in the replay center.
After review, the call is overturned. Foul ball.
So Ernie Clement will come back to the plate. Clement did not run. He knew it was a foul ball, but he figured he got the call. He might as well circle the bases.
Well, I think everybody knew it was foul except third base umpire.
It's got to be an awful feeling as an umpire. You know, everybody in the ballpark is hooting at you. They all know you got it wrong. You know you got it wrong.
Got to have a thick skin. That's how it goes.
So Clement back to the plate with a 1-2 count, with Springer at first and 1 out. And Minter, having survived that last pitch, goes about striking out Clement for the 2nd out.
He wasn't going to throw him a down and in slider, and he came with a change up there. Oh, a little down slider.
Good placement, out of the strike zone.
So 2 out, and now we'll get a pinch hitter. This is Davis Schneider, no relation to the manager John Schneider. Davis Schneider became a bit of a folk hero in Toronto last year. Takes the pitch outside, ball 1. Schneider batting for Alan Roden with a left-hander in the game. Roden, left-hand batter, and that fastball on the outside corner is strike, and it's 1-1. Ryan Stanek, next man up in the Mets bullpen. Schneider takes a cutter down, 2-1. Davis Schneider grew up in South Jersey, down in Voorhees. He came up with the Jays 2 years ago. He had a great run. He was in 35 games at an OPS over 1,000. He wasn't able to replicate that last year, but he became very popular very quickly up in Toronto. Minter behind him, 3-1. I think it's the glasses.
You like that look?
Fans love players with the rec specs.
The Chris Sabo look. That was like the first guy I remember having glasses.
Remember the 0-2 Angels who won the World Series? They had 2 guys come out of the bullpen who wore glasses.
Brendan Donnelly?
Brendan Donnelly was one of them.
And there was a taller, thinner guy. Yeah.
I mean, that's a folk hero right there.
Well, I always think of Kurt Rambis with the Lakers.
There you go. Good call.
Or Ricky Vaughn. Bouncer foul. I mean, Ricky Vaughn had the tape on the glasses that sold the whole look. I don't know about you, but I wore rec specs when I was a kid.
My parents wouldn't get them for me. I had to wear the regular black rimmed glasses.
3-2 coming, and it's in there for a call, strike 3. Got him looking at a cutter. 3 strikeouts in a row from Minter after a leadoff hit. That sends us to the 7th inning stretch, 5-0.
Tomorrow, Juan Soto.
Mets have had a lot of fun before a sellout crowd in their home opener today, leading 5-0 as we go to the bottom of the 7th.
Nothing is better than a full house, huh, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, and a W.
It's awesome.
And the first Lazy Mary of the season.
There you go.
I would like to be able to remember when the Mets first played Lazy Mary at the 7th inning stretch. It seems such an odd choice, but it has become such a tradition. And the Queens crew is out dancing to the music.
You know, John DeMarco just shot that shot of Shea Bridge. Every time I see the Shea Bridge, all it reminds me of is when the people coming off the subway at Shea Stadium. That's what it reminds me of each and every time.
I think that's what it's supposed to remind you.
Oh, is it? Oh. It's only been 20 years there.
It's hard to believe this ballpark is now in its 17th season, opened in 2009.
Unbelievable.
David Schneider, who pinch hits, stays in the game in left field. Anthony Santander moves over to right field. Jacob Barnes, who got the last 2 outs in the 6th, faces Luis Torrens and gets his first fastball in for a strike, 0-1. Torrens is flied out and grounded out. Acuna and Siri to follow, the lower third of the Mets batting order. There have been only 7 hits in this game. Jays have 4. The Jays have 3. The Mets have 4. Torrens flies one out to right center, and Springer retreats. Every fly ball is going a little further than the outfielder expects. Spectrum high-speed hitting today. Starling Marte's sac fly, the hardest hit ball of the game. Pete Alonso's home run doesn't even make the list.
What?
No. I mean, he didn't exactly smoke it.
No, he just kind of placed it out there. A lot of guys place it out there. It's a base hit in front of the right fielder. With Pete, it gets over the fence.
It's Ursine power. Luis Angel Acuna's popped to second and flying to center 0 for 2. And Barnes gets a swinging strike. Dave Freed tells me Lazy Mary started in the mid-1990s.
Huh.
I mean, when Shea Stadium first opened, they had the organist, Jane Jarvis, on the Thomas organ, and she would play her own version of Take Me Out to the Ball Game at the 7th inning stretch. She also had the tune that she created, not Meet the Mets, but Let's Go Mets, which was the tune they played when they took the field. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Let's go Mets.
Yes, I remember. Yes, Gary, you're right. Yes. It's a nice little lilt.
Very lilty. Two and 2 to Acuna. And he lays off the cutter, and it's 3-2. Mets have not struck out today over the first 6 and a third. Barnes trying to change that. Jose Siri on deck. And there's the first strikeout for Jays pitching today. So Acuna down on strikes, 2 away.
Barnes's slider is much sharper than it was before. The cutter addition complements his 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
It's really a fine ballpark, isn't it?
Beautiful.
We first had the drone late last season, and the views that it gave us that day and the ones we're getting today are unlike any I've ever seen.
That's right.
Siri hit one to the fence in center field that was caught his last time up.
We had a shot earlier from behind the left field stands, and we got to see the people who sit in the back row right up against the fence.
It's about time they got a little airtime.
I mean, that's your people, Gary.
Yes,
they're the trucks.
They are. Big cut by Siri, and it's 1-2. Max Kranick gets up now in the Mets bullpen. Ron Stanek was up briefly in the last inning. And Kranick's been impressive so far.
He sure has.
1-2 from Barnes, and Siri flicks one out to right field, and Santander is there to grab it. So Barnes throws in a 1-2-3 7th. We go to the 8th with the Mets up 5-zip.
And he spins.
The post-game show coming up just a little bit, Garrett.
Nice to see Jose on the set there.
That's right.
Looking spiffy. Well, here's Max Kranick, who had an incredible outing Tuesday night in Miami. 3 perfect innings on 22 pitches. Well, Bichette first man to face him in the top of the 8th.
Probably has a little more nerves here coming out of the bullpen at this home opener.
He throws strikes. He had a terrific spring. He made the ball club. He earned it.
I grew up rooting for Jose Reyes as a kid in Scranton. Used to come to games here, but not opening days. He said he never got to an opening day, but his dad every year went to opening day. Family in the stands today, rooting Max on. And Bichette pops one up in foul ground. Vientos drifting over, but that'll be in the seats.
So you're telling me the kids that grew up as Mets fans that are now coming to the big leagues love the teams that when we started this job here. Is that what you're saying?
Or they might have been too young to. What you're saying is that we're really old.
Oh, so
rub it in.
So old.
Just remember, no matter how old you'll get, you'll never be older than Keith.
That's right.
It's the one saving grace.
I am the elder statesman. It's hard to believe. I was always the youngest.
Youngest what?
Youngest.
Like coming up playing and stuff?
My brother's older than
Right.
me. I was always the youngest in the gang around when I was growing up as a kid. I don't know how to adjust.
You're always young, like young for the guys that were on your team.
Yeah, 20 years old in the big leagues, right?
What's that?
20 years old in the big leagues.
20 years old in the big leagues. I felt like I was 14.
And now it's just 51 years later. Swing and a miss, and Bichette is out on strikes. That's 10 strikeouts for Met pitchers today.
Well, that's got to be his family because they were taking iPhone video shots of when he was warming up and now jumping up and down on the strikeout. Why not?
They're happy.
Lot to like from Max so far. There's Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who has singled and walked in this game, 1 for 2. And he takes a fastball just off the plate for ball 1. Talon McGill went the first 5 1/3, no runs, 2 hits. Reed Garrett retired his first 2 hitters on strikeouts. AJ Minter struck out 3 in his inning. And now Kranick. And he nips the outside corner, and it's a ball and a strike to Guerrero. Vladdy is 26 years old. He's already a 4-time All-Star. And he will be a free agent after the season unless the Jays can figure out how to sign him.
You know, a lot depends on what happens this year, because once he's a free agent, if they have another bad year, why would he come back? You know?
Well, there are a couple of reasons he might want to come back. That's ripped into left field, a base hit, and Guerrero's on base for the 3rd time today. Nimmo blocks it and then gets it in.
Boy, 2 breaking ball base hits. This one he pulled. He just stays in. Just stays right in.
Toe tap.
A little bit of a hitch. Just look at that drive right at the pitcher.
Ball 1 to Anthony Santander. So why might Guerrero want to go back to Toronto? 1, he's a native Canadian. He's born in Montreal. 2, Rogers Center is a great hitter's ballpark.
It is.
Santander flies one toward the right field corner. Soto with room makes the catch going away. Nicely done by Soto. He had that ball lined up the entire way and caught it a step from the fence for the 2nd out.
Got in on Santander just enough. Wanted it in, he got it in, and it just got in enough. Upstairs enough, he got under it too.
So 2 out. Here's Andres Jimenez, and he takes curveball down for ball 1. One thing I think that I'm not sure all fans know, even the players who play for the Blue Jays get paid in American dollars.
Yes.
So that should not make a difference as far as the Jays' pursuit of free agents, even their own. Got in on the hands of Jimenez that time, and it's 1-1.
I just think he's going to be pursued by so many teams that he's going to have a chance not only to name his price, but also to pick a team that seems to be trending better than the Blue Jays did last year.
1-2 to Jimenez. Oh, you look at this Jays team and you look at some of the talent that they have on the starting rotation. Their bullpen should be better than it was last year. They've got a lot of offensive pieces who underperformed last year. They should be better than what they showed in 2024 when they won only 74 games. 1-2 from Kranick to Jimenez, and he chops one over the mound. Tough play for Lindor, but he's right there to step on the bag and get the force to retire the side. So Kranick throws another scoreless inning, and the Mets lead 5-0 in the 8th. Top of the batting order for the Mets in the bottom of the 8th. Looking to add to a 5-0 lead. Cuban right-hander Yariel Rodriguez takes over the pitching for the Jays. Francisco Lindor, a double and a walk. He scored 2 runs today, and he takes a fastball outside from Rodriguez, ball 1.
Rodriguez made a bunch of starts for the Blue Jays last year, but now in the bullpen, where he hit in his last outing 98 miles an hour.
Yeah, his average fastball velocity is up more than 2 miles per hour now pitching out of the bullpen. Jays had to remake their bullpen. Last year they had the worst bullpen ERA in the American League. They non-tendered their closer Jordan Romano, who wound up signing with the Phillies, and they signed Jeff Hoffman, who came from the Phillies, to a 3-year deal to be their closer. It's almost like a trade. Soto and Alonso to follow behind Lindor. And it's up and in. 95-mile-an-hour fastball from Rodriguez. Yariel Rodriguez started 21 games for Toronto last year, and they might at some point have to use him as a starter. Might depend on how long Max Scherzer is out. Scherzer's dealing with a thumb injury. He's on the injured list. In the dirt. And full count to Lindor at 3-2.
Well, you notice Lindor's bat. I just noticed now it is the torpedo bat. See that little bit of a bulge down there just above the label.
More wood in the fat part of the bat makes it even fatter. And that's outside ball 4 with a 3-2 slider. And Lindor's on base for the 3rd time today. Now that'll bring up Soto. He picked up his first Citi Field hit as a Met, a double to drive and a run in the 6th inning. We'll see more Dominican flags around these parts this year and for the next decade and a half.
That's right.
You think we'll be around at the end of Soto's contract?
That'd be a no, Gary.
How many years?
15. We've already done 20. 15 should be easy.
I'm a little iffy on that one.
There goes Lindor. He got a huge jump, and Kirk's throw is too late. And Lindor has his 2nd stolen base of the year.
Oh, he had that jumping lead. You know, young pitcher. He figured he threw over there once, so he wouldn't do it 2 in a row, and he took advantage of it.
So an RBI opportunity for Soto. And he gets one back to the mound, and Lindor is trapped.
Closed down.
And the 3rd baseman Clement puts on the tag for the 1st out. 165 on the put out.
Well executed on the rundown.
How do you avoid that as the runner at 2nd base, Keith?
How do you avoid it?
Yeah, how do you avoid getting hung out to dry on that comebacker? Is it a matter
always that the problem is you come off with the pitch and you want to get a good, and then you're leaning that way, and if it's hit back hard, sometimes it's just hard. If you take a step or two, you're a goner.
Soto takes off first pitch. The throw by Kirk is not in time, and Soto's got his first stolen base of the year. So they're running wild on Yariel Rodriguez.
They're running wild on this pitcher as well.
That is the pitch.
Oh, sorry.
It's hard. Soto's trying to maintain the bag with the oven mitt on his left hand. Not easy.
Soto had 7 steals last year as a Yankee. He's had as many as 12 in a season. So he's in scoring position with 1 out. 1-0 to Alonso, who hit a 2-run homer in the 1st inning to give the Mets all they've needed so far. And he takes a fastball strike 1-1. Pete's home run was his 3rd in the last 4 games. 229 now as a Met. 23 behind Darryl Strawberry for the all-time club lead. And they're chanting his name. They were chanting his name in Miami the other day.
Yes, they were.
And there were an enormous number of Met fans. There are always a lot of Met fans on the road, and particularly in Miami, but it seemed particularly lopsided in favor of the Mets for most of that series. Fouled off. It's 2-2.
I thought during the introductions today there was fans standing on their feet when they were going to announce Pete, because I think I don't think there is a fan of the Mets who did not want Pete Alonso back,
including Pete Alonso. Flicks this one out to right. This one's going to stay in the ballpark, and Santander is there to grab it. 2 out. You know, it was one of the things that really was interesting to me when I got to spring training this year and got to talk to some of the guys who returned this year. Alonso, Winker, Stanek. They all were unanimous that they did not want to go anywhere else. And sometimes guys will say that, but it was so heartfelt from all of them. Sean Manaea in that group too. All the guys who were free agents coming from this team last year wanted to stay.
Because they had a year that you don't usually get in the major leagues. It was just the feel-good year of our time here in the booth.
No question. And the vibes were tremendous, particularly for a team that came from such depths over the first 2 months of the season. Brandon Nimmo had an RBI double his last time up. He's also drawn a walk, 1 for 2. Soto at second and 2 out. Looks like Max Kranick is going to get the 9th after pitching a scoreless 8th. Nobody up in the Mets bullpen. Alejandro Kirk, George Springer, and Will Wagner, the 3 scheduled hitters for the Jays in the 9th. Rodriguez behind 2-0. And Nimmo takes a lot of high strike, 2-1. Kevin Gausman on the hook in this game. He didn't pitch badly, 5 1/3. He gave up only 2 hits. But one of them was an Alonso 2-run homer. He was charged with 3 runs. Good slider by Rodriguez, 2-2.
Interesting, we got that shot of Max Kranick talking with Clay Holmes. No one would know the Toronto hitters better than Clay at AL East.
He doesn't have to try and get that guy out.
Yeah.
And Nimmo lays off the changeup, and it's out of the strike zone. 3-2. Mets have 4 hits today. They've all come from the top 4 hitters in the lineup, and they've all been extra base hits. Not a single among them. 3-2 to Nimmo. And he hits a weak ground ball to Jimenez at second base. That retires the side and it sends us off to the 9th in the home opener. Mets trying to lock down with a 5-0 lead.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm.
John's. Better pizza, Papa John's.
Coming up tonight at 11 o'clock, it's Honda Sports Night. Much more on this game and all the rest of the day in sports right here on SNY. Max Kranick trying to close things out in the home opener. Throws a fastball strike to Alejandro Kirk. Kirk is grounded out, popped up, struck out 0 for 3. The Jays have been limited to 4 hits in this game, only 1 extra base hit. Mets have gone 11-5 in their first 16 Citi Field home openers, 41-22 all time in home openers. Trying to add to that today. The last time the Mets had a shutout in a home opener with fans in the stands was 2017. They had one in 2020, but we were the only ones here. And a lot of cardboard cutouts. Kirk hammers one on the ground. Vientos backs off, shows off that arm, 1 away. And with Kirk going down the line, backing off is the right play.
Backing off, but also he's had a nice day defensively. I think that's
he made all the plays.
That's a plus. He needed that kind of day.
He's had 5 chances in the field, handled the ball flawlessly. 1 out and nobody on in the 9th. Now George Springer, who has 2 of the 4 Toronto hits as he continues his fast start. With a triple and a single today, Springer's OPS for the season is now 1286, and that one clicked off his bat into the mid of Turan's 0-1. Blue Jays came in here with a 4-game winning streak after sweeping the Nats in Toronto earlier this week. A high slider gets a swinging strike, and it's 0-2. Kranick tried to lock it down for Tylor Megill, who went the first 5 1/3, allowed no runs and 2 hits. And Springer takes just off the plate with a slider, 1-2. That's allowed Griffin Canning going tomorrow night against the Jays' Chris Bassett. 7:10 first pitch tomorrow. And then Sunday it's David Peterson against Bowden Francis, a 1:40 start. Dress warmly.
What time's the start tomorrow?
7:10.
7:10.
7:10. Home night game on the 5th of April. Golfed foul.
Come on now.
I was thinking about this because I was saying that the other day. Whose decision was that? I'm thinking we probably did that.
No, we're part of the problem.
We're definitely part of the problem. I know we're not part of the solution.
Very rarely.
2-2 coming to Springer. Up and away, and so Kranick runs a full count on Springer with Will Wagner, the on-deck batter. There's nobody throwing in the Mets bullpen. This is on Kranick to try and finish off. He's been just tremendous so far after missing most of 3 years. Line to short, but right at Lindor at 2 down. Springer hit a bullet, but Lindor right there to grab it. Now the Jays are down to their final out of the day. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Will Wagner, who has walked and struck out twice. That's looking for their first shutout victory of the season. And slider at the feet of Wagner, ball 1. One and over Wagner, and he takes a strike with a fastball. 1-1. Its bullpen has been terrific today. Garrett, Minter, Kranick. They've gotten 10 outs. 1 more to get. Wagner pops one up. Lindor makes the call, and the ball game is over. For the 13th time in their history, the Mets get a shutout in the home opener as Tylor Megill and the bullpen throw a 4-hitter. Pete Alonso's first inning home run, all the offense the Mets needed, and the Mets blanked the Blue Jays 5-0 to go over 500.
Well, only 4 hits, Garrett, but like you said, 5 runs. The 2-run home run to right field was all the Mets really needed in the first inning. Pete's third home run and his 10th RBI of the season. Also, Lea Soto got his first RBI as a Met here at Citi Field. Nimmo as well.
The maturation of McGill continues. Last 8 starts, the Mets are 8-0.
So a happy day at Citi Field. The Mets blank the Blue Jays 5-0. That's now 42-22 in home openers, 12-5 at Citi Field as they send nearly 44,000 folks home happy. Today's win is brought to you by Moo Moo. For every Mets win, Moo Moo and the Mets will contribute $10,000 toward cash prizes throughout the season. Download the Moo Moo app today for your chance to win.
Moo Moo to you.
Back with more from Citi Field in a moment. Final score in the home opener, the Mets 5, the Blue Jays 0. The Amazing Mets Foundation will contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Cass Institute for Women's Health for every Mets win. For more information, visit northwell.edu/cats. The total contribution so far this season is $10,000. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Audi. Visit your Tri-State Audi dealer today. By PNC Bank. Season start is presented by PNC Bank. Brilliantly boring since 1865. By New York 811. Safety is in your hands. Every dig, every time. And by Hyundai. With a brand new Hyundai, there's joy in every journey. Game 2 of this series tomorrow night. Griffin Canning makes his home debut for the Mets. Former Met Chris Bassett goes for the Jays. First pitch 7:10. Coverage begins tomorrow right here on SNY at 6:30. Now for Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, Steve Gelbs, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen at Citi Field. Time for Infinity Post Game Live. Gary Apple and the gang coming up.
All right, Gary, we thank you. That is a real